Okay, Representative Williams, is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, I would like to move on with 7610.
Very good.
Thank you. First, I would like to present to you, as I had spoken to you last week, about the amendment that was presented at ACLU, and I believe you may have a copy. If you don't, I will present that to you.
Could you, I may have a copy. The packet is very thick for this, so rather than me try to find it, if you could give a copy to the clerk, that would be great. So this is language that you would propose be added as a substitute A.
Yes,
okay.
Please and thank you.
Do you want to tell us about that language?
The Division of Motor Vehicles shall not issue a motor vehicle operator's license under this section to any applicant who has been convicted of a felony in Rhode Island, as determined by searching the electronic criminal information search system maintained on the internet website of the Rhode Island Judiciary for convictions matching such applicant's name and date of birth. In addition to that, that's one section, the other part is on page 2. A simple amendment to this motion could avoid this scenario by specifically referring to the State Civil Rights Act, so that the sentence read that it shall be a violation of Chapter 112 of Title 42 to discriminate against an individual.
Okay, thank you. So that's language you propose be added to the bill?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's really difficult to sit and talk to colleagues that you're fond of. But before I start my testimony, I also have to make a public statement with regards to Mr. Terry Gorman. I consider him a dear friend. I respect him. We see differences on this issue, but I will publicly say, and I honestly believe, that if he saw me somewheres, not it necessarily being me, but if he saw someone in distress, he would stop and help that person out without knowing what their statuses would be, but because the person was in need. So I need to publicly say that because it has been presented, misrepresented in the media that I have called or presented him as a bigot. Absolutely not. I find him to be a perfect gentleman and we both disagree on an issue, and that's all it is. We disagree on an issue, but I respect him.
That's good, and I'm going to ask everybody that testifies here today to treat each other with the respect they deserve as Rhode Islanders.
Thank you. The purpose of this legislation is to ensure that all drivers on the road are knowledgeable of traffic safety laws and safe operation of motor vehicles. This legislation is strictly about the safety of everyone on Rhode Island's roads, whether they are legal residents or undocumented residents. The driving privilege licenses and permits are not, however, the equivalent of a regular Rhode Island driver's license, and there are several safeguards that have been put in place within the legislation to highlight the differences in the privilege. Applicants must provide reliable proof and documentation of their name, date of birth, and place of birth from various different acceptable documents such as a foreign birth certificate, a valid foreign passport, or an expired passport no less than 3 years, or a valid foreign driver's license with the international driving permit. It also requires 2 forms of proof of a Rhode Island residential address, such as a utility bill or a letter from a shelter or halfway house. It also requires certification from the tax administrator that the applicant has filed tax returns with the state for the past 2 years. An affidavit must be filed with the DMV attesting an application to legalize immigration status has been or will be filed as soon as possible. Applicants must apply and conduct all renewals in person as well and are subject to all education and tests involved with driving privilege. And this goes to you, Representative Costa. A driving privilege license holder is unable to apply for a chauffeur's license or even CDL. Also, you're welcome. Also, the driving privilege license and permit are not valid for federal or state identification purposes. They cannot be used if the applicant has been convicted of any felony in this or any other state as well. There are also safeguards in place to eliminate discrimination against driving privilege license or permit holders, such as it cannot be used as evidence of citizenship or immigration status, and it cannot be used as a basis for criminal investigation, arrest, or detention. It will be illegal to discriminate against any individual because they hold or present a driving privilege permit or license. Mr. Chair and members of this committee, times have changed. They continue to change. We need to ensure that everyone on the road know the laws, that everyone is properly registered to be driving a vehicle, that everyone is insured. These licenses are for life purposes, going to work, taking your children to school, going to the market, to the doctors, things that you and I, with the privilege of having a license, do and take for granted. We need to be able to be proactive. These individuals that are here asking for assistance, they are no different than anyone else that comes before us and asks us for assistance. We have a duty to help, to make sure that everybody is doing as they're supposed to do legally. These individuals are hard-working men and women and teenagers. They are not, as it said, taking people's jobs. They are not here asking for anything other than a break so that they too can become citizens of this state, of this country. The issue of citizenship is not as though you may just say, I want it, and go and get it. It is costly. And survival for many of these individuals are low or below poverty. 2 and 3 jobs is a way of life. The buses don't take them to every spot they are. But they need to get there. They need to be able to have the same opportunity that your forefathers came here and sought and got from this sanctuary city and state. The only difference is that they managed to have something that we as people, poor people, don't have right now. We don't look like the majority that's in charge. But our needs are no different in any way, shape, or form. And I honestly believe fear is what's keeping this bill from passing a long time ago. Fear of not understanding the facts. But equally as important as that, not wanting to have an open mind to the truth, to the truth. The fact is, if every undocumented person left the job that they held now, better yet, the jobs that they hold now, this state would feel it. They will feel it right away. They're not saying they want to take your job, your child, your husband, your sister, your brother's job. They're making a living. They're paying taxes. They're filing income tax. They're going and shopping in your stores. They want to be able to get to those places in the proper fashion with a license that will take them to and from to these places. Please, I reach out to you all. There is no different here. There is absolutely no different. Once upon a time, we could identify the enemies clearly as day, because they would come in the middle of the night. Now, some sit before us, with us, next to us, eat with us, but they're enemies. So we don't know exactly. We learn after a few trials and tribulations. If you treat me right, there's absolutely no different to treating your brothers, my brothers and sisters right. What does an undocumented person look like? Can you truly tell me? Can you really tell me what they look like? So now we're going to start trying to identify citizens. You can do a citizen arrest. I know that they don't have papers. Come on. When will it end? Will it ever end? One thing for sure, your grandchildren will look back at these hearings and laugh. Some of them are laughing today. Can't believe that we're spending the time dividing and still trying to conquer. Those days are almost gone, because our grandchildren and some of our children and even some of us are going to make that difference now, because it's necessary now. When we want to change something to benefit somebody, some group, we know how to work it. We know how to work it, write it, spin it. We know how to do it to get it done. Safety. This isn't about skipping the line. This isn't about disrespecting. This isn't about murdering, and all this other wicked stuff that's being placed on immigrants. Immigrants that built this state. Some immigrants that were brought over here against their will. Immigrants that look like me. I wasn't born in this country, but my grandparents paid their way. And I'm here as testimony. Nobody's asking for a handout. It is being asked, give us a hand, and we will continue to be productive citizens of this biggest little state in the union. No handouts. You can't put the bad things on these immigrants here in the state of Rhode Island. Look at how many bad apples we have up in here that were born here in this state, live here in this state, and perpetrate in this state. And they're getting away with it. There's bad in every race, group, city, town, state. Let's not pin it on you don't belong here. Neither did my ancestors belong here. They were brought here against their will. And who benefited? What sacrifices did they make? And for who? I don't know all of my history because it was robbed from me. But I know your history, and it can be a history for all of us. We are supposed to do the people's work. We're not supposed to identify who is and who is not. We need to start looking at the real deal here. Immigrants are not going anywhere. They're part of the fabric of this country and will continue to be till the end of time. Legal, illegal, undocumented, they are humans. They are humans. Privileges? Privileges. Who does it belong to? What class are we going to be placed in? Those people. They don't belong here. Neither did my ancestors. We need to get it together. It is time. It is time. I'm not going to try to change individuals' minds simply because many in this room will never see what my experience, our experience in the minority community from my eyes. Will never. But many of you will be open enough, willing to understand it and respect it. I'm not trying to change who you are. As you ask and expect me to respect you, and I do and will, is the same way that this community is being asked to also respect them. Please don't close the door. Please don't close the window. Please don't come up with any more excuses. Stop trying to study it. Stop talking behind the doors about it. Let's be open and frank and embrace it. Look at the situation as it really is. This is a win-win for everybody. A win-win for everybody, like it or not. The fact of the matter is the time has come. 40 acres and a mule? This is 40 acres and a mule if you want to identify it as that. We shall overcome. This is the time that we shall overcome if you want to identify it as that. The revolution is here. This is the revolution if you want to identify it as that. How many more do I have to present to you to say one day, you're going to judge me not by the color of my skin or the sound of my accent, but you're going to judge me as a productive person of this state that contribute as a hard worker, a provider, a family person, an educator. I am somebody. They are somebody. Just equally as important as each and every one of you. Let's do this. This is not about us and them. This is not about the yesteryears and doing the wrong thing to these people. Fear breeds ignorance. We need to stop being afraid. I don't have a problem, as you well know, telling it like it is, calling the names, and it be that. Fear? I fear when it's time for me to answer to my master. My master. Okay? Fear is not going to rule or control me at all. Mr. Chair, I thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any questions for our sponsors? Vice Chair Costa.
Thank you, Chairman. Representative Williams, I just have one quick question. In this bill, it doesn't state that car insurance is required. I am sure that it is.
That's the law, and we will abide, and that's what it says in there. They shall abide by all the rules and regulation, every test that needs to be taken, every single thing that you and I have to go through, they will have to go through.
Thank you.
Welcome.